Today on the SavageGoose Show, we're talking about Phase World with Brandon from Star Anvil Games. Say hello, Brandon.
Hello, Brandon.
But as always, we're going to go through a few other things before we get to that. And Brandon's going to chime in on his thoughts on everything we talk about. Right, Brandon?
Sure.
All right, cool. As always, let's go ahead and jump in by starting with the newsletter. So this week on the newsletter, we're seeing a lot of things that we're seeing from the past few weeks. Deadlands 30th anniversary Kickstarter update. Hey, there's a lot of cool stuff going on with Deadlands. You can go check it out. There's a lot of cool products that I'm excited about. Specifically for me, I'm really excited about the core rule book that's going to combine the core rules with Deadlands, and I'm excited about the starter set. Starter sets have really intrigued me lately, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they do their starter set, and I'll probably do a review as soon as I get one of those copies at some point. But also a lot of other cool things like leather-bound products and history of Deadlands, all that kind of fun stuff.
I definitely wish I could just go all in on that one, but I'm probably going to get at least a book.
I also wish I could go all in, but I was like, no. I have too many other Kickstarters I need to back. So I gotta take care of those first. So I kept myself to mainly just the star set and the core rules, mostly because I want to see how they do the core rule combination. And then also again, I want to see what they do for the star set. But I am excited for both of those things because they're both things that were on my like dear pinnacle video. Like, please make these products.
Yeah.
And they're doing it, so that's good. So you know, make sure you get those. Deadlands 3rd anniversary event GM profile. So they are doing a really big event later this year in October to help celebrate the 30th anniversary of Deadlands. This is going on in Arizona. You can purchase tickets for and go to, and there'll be games being run by people who have worked on Deadlands. One of the people, one of my who's been on the show, Carl Kiesler, he is going to be GMing a game at this event as well. Carl is fairly well known in the Savage World space for doing a lot of the layouts for a lot of products. A lot of people work with him. So if you have seen a book that you really like the layout of, there's I'd say a 50% chance that Carl did it. So
he's a fantastic GM.
There you go. I haven't played a game with him, so I should. I can't really say anything about it. But now you got someone to back you up there. So yeah, go read. There's a really nice long list of things that Carl's worked on and a discussion about what he's done. He is a licensee through Doghouse Rules. Again, that's why he's been on the show before to talk about stuff through Doghouse Rules. This thing includes things like a couple of them back here, Dust Bunnies and Sidewinder Recoiled, and the upcoming Occult City. So look forward to if you're going to the game, you should. If you're going to this celebration event, you should check this out. On the Fantasy Grounds and Steam, Deadlands Stone in a Hard Place is 20% off. So if you use any of those, if you use Fantasy Grounds and you want to play Stone in a Hard Place, it's a good time to jump on that. There's also a very large bundle on Blood Drive for GM's Day, so 65% off. That's fairly cheap for everything you get. That comes to $9. You get the Blood Drive book, you get the map pack for Ambush Pass, and you get the archetype cards. So $9 for a whole entire plot point campaign. Pretty good deal in its own right. Convention news. So Pinnacle's like GAMA. If you don't know what GAMA is, I don't remember what it stands for. I should know. But basically, it's where people who are in the industry of gaming get together to talk about things like how to be successful at marketing your products, how to be successful as a retailer. And basically, it's a big time for retailers and producers, publishers, whatever you call them, to get together and talk about strategies and how to kind of get the industry going, both for board games, tabletop games, anything that's tabletop related. So, start checking here. Let's say Landauer is there, and I know Jody is a member of, has an important role at GAMA, but I don't know if she went either. But either way, if you are a retailer for some reason you're watching me, that's cool. I'm really glad. But if you are, you can get a 6% off MSRP retailer bundles at GAMA for Savage Worlds Core, Savage Pathfinder, Rifts, etc. One of my favorite local game store, Games Unlimited, here at near here in Pittsburgh. Kylie does a really good job at doing social media for his store, and he does carry Savage Worlds products. So maybe he'll pick up some stuff, and I'll have to go check out what he gets. Swag Spotlight, that old familiar phrase for Savage Worlds. So there is a lot of really cool products coming out on the Savage Worlds Adventures Guild right now as a response to the Fast, Fun, and Furious February, which is the creator jam that they do yearly. This is a product that came out in regards to that, and this is just about familiars and all different kinds of ways you can do familiars. So if you're interested in finding new fun ways to have cool rules for using familiars inside Savage Worlds, this is a good product to check out. And then looking at our a little bit of weird voice there. If you're to see a look at our crowdfunding report, Rifts is on international, same with Deadlands Colony. Doomguard, we are in the pledge manager is open phase, but final files have been delivered, so look forward to that. Looking forward to getting my copy of Doomguard. I just got the book. I didn't get the board game, unfortunately. Didn't find there wasn't enough funds in the budget to do that. So into the Savage Worlds products there. Dark Ages, which I think a lot of us are very excited for, is in pre-order, so check that out as well. And then Pathfinder Carry Round has had its feedback officially closed. So yeah.
Let's see. I have Europa, I have Doomguard the book, and Dark Ages are all ones I backed. So most of them.
Lost Colony, I got that, and it was my first time doing Lost Colony stuff, so I got all the Lost Colony stuff.
Okay.
Deadlands, I got the Doomguard stuff. I got the Deadlands Dark Ages because I don't know. We've been waiting for this since 2018. I've just been excited for it, and finally getting it. This very exciting. 7 years, no, 8. What year is it? It's 2026.
2026.
It's been 8 years and waiting. And also, I was with Carrying Crown. At this point, I am still in the Rise of the Rune Lords campaign, and so I still have enough Pathfinder time to dedicate to all the other campaigns we're doing. And I also really want to play all the other campaigns and settings I have back here. So
sure,
kind of skipped on that one for now. All right, what else we got? Well, we got new products. Let's go on and talk about those. The first new product I want to shout out, again, we're going to see a few of these from the Savage Worlds Adventurers Guild in response to the Fast, Furious, Fun February Creator Jam. The first one is Hardwired, Cyberware, and Synthetics. This is just a small 18-page book in the Hardwired series. This is like a cyberpunk series of Savage Worlds Adventurers Guild products. This one is just all about cyberware and synthetics that you can get for your character. So if you're playing a cyberpunk type game, this is perfect kind of accessory to that to add in some more additional options. We also have issue number 3 of the Adventures of Doom, the Cave Lemurian. If you're familiar with John Doom, he is the creator of this stuff. He's usually on here. I don't know. There might be comments right now that I'm not seeing, so I apologize to everyone if I am not seeing your comments. I think StreamYard is glitching out a little bit because I have a high doubt that no one is out there is talking to me. So I'll apologize about that. I'll try to look at the comments over on YouTube in case there are any. But
there's one. I just responded. Oh, no, a couple showed up.
All right. Okay, good. Glad that people are there. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I am not able to see your comments right now. But Adventures Cave of Lemurian. It's a nice pulpy adventure from John Doom. The next one from good old Richard Woolcock, also known as Zadmar, is Arcane Resurrection. This is a micro setting, and one of the things I really like about at first when I first discovered micro settings, I didn't really care for them, and then over time I've actually gained an appreciation for them. They're letting you just know what you need to know to do a small adventure, not to get necessarily super deep into it, but enough for you to kind of run through something, kind of do your own thing, and also let you have room to make decisions on your own, do more emergent storytelling of the setting as you go. So it gives you just like the framework that you need. So I enjoy these kinds of products more now than I used to. I recommend checking it out. This one, as you guys know, I love the City Guard Chronicles. It is one of my favorite Savage Worlds Adventures Guild lines of things, and theirs is a brand new full-length adventure from Jetmar with City Guard Chronicles. There are plenty of one sheets for this, but there's I think about 5 now 6 This is 6. Yeah, 6. Yep, 6 full-length adventure for Seaguard Chronicles. These are some of the best one-shot games that Savage Worlds ever played, is using Seaguard Chronicles. I love the setting. I love the simplicity of it. It's always very clear what people are playing. It's very clear what they're supposed to be doing because they are members of City Guard and they're doing City Guard type stuff. So I love them. These are always instant purchases for me, so highly recommend checking that out. By the way, all the links to all these things are in the description down below. One more from Jen at this Jan, I think it's actually Jan Yatmar, is the one sheet for the convention for Salt and Chrome. Salt and Chrome is I would say an upcoming setting that they've been working on. There's enough out there for them to kind of release adventures and such, but I believe they're working on, I should talk to him eventually, but I believe that the goal is to release a full setting for Salt and Chrome at some point. Cool. So I'm waiting for that. I believe that's true. I correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I believe that's what the goal is, and I hope it is, because I would like to see a nice little cyberpunk setting from Yamar. Lastly, this is kind of pertain. This is not necessarily a new product, but I wanted to mention it because it's a good deal, and that is the Starbreaker Saints and Sinners bundle. This is not because Brand's on. I was going to put this in here anyways, so don't think that I'm playing like little favorites just because he's here. This is a deal for Saints and Sinners with a bunch of products for Saints and Sinners, all in a really good deal of, I believe it's half off. What's the extra price?
It'd be 25 if you don't own anything, but of course the bundles cut out whatever you've already purchased, so that's money. Yeah, so I a little bit cheaper for me because I own most of the stuff. In fact, I'm probably I don't own everything, but that's on me. I'll have to figure that out. Shame on you.
I know. I mean, well, yeah. Back to your Kickstarter, I maybe didn't redeem everything. That definitely happens. Sometimes I have to go through my Drive-Thru RPG and you like make sure I redeemed everything that I have.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So much stuff comes out sometimes. It's like, did I click it all?
Did I click it? Yeah. So at some point I need to go through and make sure I got everything. But I do have the physical copies of Starbreaker Saints and Sinners behind me, and Star Marine as well, which is not part of this, but just want to mention that. So
Star Marines was too new to put a bundle out. I felt people would feel like, wow, we just got it. You're already discounted. It feels like a bit of a, they understand discounts will happen eventually, but not that quick. So.
Yeah. But take a look at this. It's a really good kind of starter set for you if you're interested in Starbreaker. Nice price point to get all the different parts of it: adventure one sheets, archetypes, figure flats, jumpstart, Starbreaker missions Bravo. So a little adventure there for you, and then also the core rulebook.
You get the core rulebook, 4 adventures, the archetype cards, the figure flats, the threat cards. Of course, it's PDF, so depending on how you might not want to print out threat cards, but I mean, it's still they're there for reference and stuff depending on how you're playing.
Absolutely. All right. So next up, we will talk about Kickstarters because we got to talk about the Kickstarters. That's just what's going on. Ending Friday, March 13th is the Deadlands 30th anniversary Kickstarter. Highly recommend check it out. There's a lot of cool things over there. A lot of cool things that I'm not going to get, but I wish I could. Like the dice. The dice over there look sweet. Check it out. Coming at some point. I need to talk to Ben and see if I can get an exact date for when this is coming, because I've been excited about this because we're playing in Vermilium. I was hoping this was going to happen already. At some point soon, Vermilium Outlaw Girls and Cannibal Elves for Vermilium. A new adventure sandbox setting for Vermilium. I've been really enjoying playing The Sick and the Dead, and my players have been as well. In fact, I have one player who kind of wants. We've been taking a break from our Pathfinder game to play Vermilium. He's kind of like, "Do we have to go we like, "Yes, we have to go back. We have to finish the campaign, and then we'll do something else." So, looking forward. We've been enjoying it a lot. And then also coming sometime this year. Brandon,
sometime this month, provided nothing bad happens.
Sometime this month. Okay, great. Phase World, which is a Rifts Dimension Savage setting. So, what in the Rifts is it? What is Phase World? Let's get in and start talking about it. So we have Brandon here from Star Anvil Studios, who's made Starbreaker. They've done Secret World, which is a you might know it as a MMORPG that has been turned into a Savage Worlds RPG. And you've done other things as well in the past. I can't name it right now off the top of my head. Other cool things,
smaller projects, yeah.
But now you're working on Phase World, which is like I said here, it is a Rifts setting, right? So it is licensed from Palladium. So if you're old school gamers, I am not an old school gamer. I wish I was. I like to think I am, but I'm not. Palladium has been around before Pinnacle, so like I want to say 80s, 90s.
So Phase Roll, I believe, is 90. What did it come out in?
90s. Let's go with 90s.
Yeah. The exact year slips my mind.
Yeah. So it's a setting that's been out for a long time. Palladium is a well-known is a well-known company in the TTRPG space. And Pinnacle has done Rifts for Savage Worlds. They've adapted the Rift setting, but now we're doing Phase Roll. So let's just start with the question that's been on my mind: in what exactly is Phase World, and what makes it different than Rifts?
Well, I mean, Phase World is, so to be clear, it's technically two separate settings now. The IPs have been separated for the reasons, for example, that I can make it now. So in the original way to look at it would be when it first came out is essentially it's Rifts in space, in that it has that, all sorts of incredible magic and science, and what you don't have those any post-apocalypse. These are existing societies that have never fallen from an apocalypse. Well, not currently generally have fallen from an apocalypse. If you look at their history, I'm sure you could find a moment where they would say it would have happened. So you get that, you've got, like Warlock Marines, magic, got the United Worlds Warlock, which use magic, build ships with rivets and magic to fly. And then you have your standard, science fiction sort of oriented settings where they don't use magic at all or very little. You've got the CCW, the Consortium of Civilized Worlds. And then you sort of got your true bad guys, which is, the Transgalactic Empire ruled by the Krigor Emperor. So you kind of have that, conflict between these three societies. And so you just have that, that just broad. I still say that the best description overall is something like Guardians of the Galaxy kind of gives you a feel for what it might be like to be there, because you have these, normal people, and just like you could have Thor on your ship, you could have a god on your ship, a dragon. It's typical, in that sense that anything goes. So it's a little bit of an everything in the kitchen sink sci-fantasy setting.
Okay, cool. So it's called Phase World. Why is it called Phase World? What's the phase? So
there's phase powers, phase abilities. You have like, phase weapons. You have the gates. I think they're not really called phase gates, but that would almost make sense. But Phase World is the center planet where the Prometheans are there, and they're the one. There's phase weapons are integral to the setting, so there's a little bit of that, and it's center is actually where you go on the planet. And you can, that's the center to the literally center is the center of the galaxy. And that every ship, if they're anywhere in the galaxy, if they're a starship, they can hit their button, they teleport right to that planet.
Okay.
They have to fly back out, but instant delivery. So I mean, that's the world, that's the center of the setting as far as what draws it all together. It's sort of like all the dimensional gates are there. Unlike Rifts, where we have these unregulated, just random rifts opening up, Phase World, they're all under control. So you just walk through a gate, you teleport there, then maybe land on the planet, go through a gate, go to the planet you want to, walk back out, and then fly away. I mean, it's go where you want kind of setting.
Okay, gotcha. So just continue on a little bit like that, like kind of comparison to Rifts, because they're closely tied together. What Rifts is often, I think, feel like super powered survival. And now that we're doing this in space, does it still feel like a survival game, or does it feel different? Like how's the scale of the game, going from one world to a galaxy? How's that change the feeling of the game?
Yeah, there's not really a survival element. I mean, there could be in a particular situation, but I mean, again, you're talking about worlds where the technology, there's no apocalypse, that the Neruni is there to buy your black market crazy weapons. You have so much access to the technology. It's really going to be, what can you afford, or whose favor are you going to owe to get something done? So it's less about trying to survive than it's going to be about maybe exploration, depending on how you want to play it. Adventure. I mean, we're definitely looking at a plot point campaign, probably as a stretch goal that I really want to include. We'll give away more when we have the finals, everything's approved, but to tie it to something like where you're being sent to recover items of power that shouldn't be out there. Sort of, I don't want to say Indiana Jones like, but
Sure.
you could use that as a bit of an influence. I wouldn't necessarily want to have a campaign that focused. Cosmo Knights are great, but I don't want to have a campaign that was built around that, because then everybody has to play, that kind of power level. Although having a Cosmo Knight in your group could be cool. You just don't want to have a bunch of them. Well, maybe you do. I mean, it's Phase World. You do whatever you want.
So is the game more focused on like planetary exploration, or do you think there's a decent amount of starship battle in it as well? Like I'll say outer space battle, maybe not starship, maybe it's mechs or whatever.
So I guess that goes back to me and how I like to play games. I don't plan on focusing a lot on starship battles, probably for two reasons. One, most often you find someone who feels left out in a starship battle. Should we have some ideas how that can happen in there? Yes. But there are also limits to, like, we can't include all those rules in our books. So we're saying, like, we know you're going to use you're probably going to use the sci-fi companion. In fact, it'll probably be it's almost like a given that it's going to be useful. But I don't want to sit there and say you have to have all these rules just about starship combat, when I think exploring planets and each individual character's skills, like, if you're a warlock marine and you're on the spaceship, did you happen to take also the skill to make you a great gunner on the ship? I mean, is that your character's focus? No, you're a warlock marine. So when you're on the planet, everyone's roles pretty much apply. That doesn't mean there shouldn't be adventures where starship combat can be applied and it shouldn't be part of the game. It will be. I just don't feel I want to make that a major focus, at least not in the first book. Maybe we find better ways to integrate it with the second book, but everybody can participate in the ground stuff more than the space stuff as a whole. So I wouldn't lean a lot towards that in the initial book.
Sure. So since you mentioned the science fiction companion, we'll just ask the question, like, what book do you need to this will be two questions. What book do you need to run Savage Rifts? And then what books can go with Savage to run Savage Phase World? Phase World. What books do you need to run Savage Phase World? And then what books, while it may not be necessary, could add value to playing Phase World?
Well, you'll absolutely need the core rule book, as always, the Suede book. I would say that because of the way, because of licensing issues, we can put a certain amount of rules in our books or not. Having a sci-fi companion be one of those things where we'll try to require as little as possible. But you'll probably find things where, like, it's really good to have.
Sure.
I don't think you'll need it for much. The same way we did Starbreaker. You will not need any Rifts books. They are a complete separate IP. They're separate from each other. But boy, would it be nice to have some of those options and tie them together. Absolutely. That's the whole point. I mean, Phase World will be a thing where you can go to Rifts Earth and you can leave it. I mean, depending on how the GM wants to run that, they could stick you're stuck on Rifts Earth for this next plot point campaign I want to run. And then you find a way to escape back to Phase World space at some point. That's how you want to run it. But I think having the option to play those different iconic frameworks and Mars packages and then throw them into an unfamiliar situation, like you make a juicer. Now you're suddenly in Phase World. Well, that's not what I expected, I mean, or that's exactly what the GM's plan was. Pick anything you want, but we're playing Phase World. We can make and with Rifts, you can make an excuse why they got there. How did you end up here? I walked through a rift and I ended up on the Fenrir homeworld, and now I've been here ever since,
Gotcha. All right, cool. So let's dive in a little bit more into the lore of the setting. I should say, the lore of what you're doing in this book. Obviously, you're adapting this whole setting to Savage Worlds. Are you basically like just continuing on the storyline from the old books, or are you doing it in the same time period? Like, what is the setting? Is the setting going to be like feel the same to people who ran Phase World back in the 90s?
So what we're doing is we're taking the first two books primarily. I see some people asking some questions about mechanics and stuff too. The primary thing we're doing is going to take the first two books and then whatever we need from the other books to make it complete. Like, for example, like some detail that just needs to be over here, and we're going to synthesize that into a single book. So we're not doing anything that new, although there is some. But basically, if you had the old books, this book, you go, well, it's not the same. It's same enough that they could easily pick it up. And if you're new, of course, it's all new. What I say, what's changing is, for example, Splugorth belonged to Rifts, not Phase World. They're separate IP, and they're finally cutting them out of there. So what will we replace? Klinkrith, I believe, is the one for Splynkrith is Earth, and Klinkrith was Phase World. They will be gone, and so will their minions then. So obviously those have to be replaced with something to fill that power vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And much like they talk about the mechanoids in other books as the devourers, so we know what they mean, but it separates the IP by giving it a different name. So you can, as a GM, you can easily make, oh, that's this, and keep playing, but it's also separate enough that there's no IP issue. So you'll see, well, what replaced them, and again, I have a great idea for it, and I believe it's going to be approved, but we have to get the details. So I don't want to say what it is, and then it doesn't end up in the book.
Okay.
Or the exact like that. And for example, like the Wolfen are part of Palladium Fantasy. We still have the Wolfen essentially, but they are now called the Fenrir. And it's easy enough to say that at some point in time, a species whose name that can't be remembered stepped through a rift and ended up in Phase World space, and they started calling themselves the Fenrir from then on. So as a GM, you go, oh, that's this, but it's so many, if you were to take any, even on Earth, you take someone, put them 10,000 years in a continent where no one else was there, and eventually their culture changes. And that's, so minor changes will have occurred, but it essentially separates the IP. So a lot of it's the same. The bulk of it's the same, but there are minor tweaks and changes. We'll establish a more firm timeline. And maybe this is like 10 years since those, since the books were written, the last book was written, we'll say 10 years have passed since that happened. All these things occurred. So we talk about the changes and where they're at.
Very cool. Yeah, you mentioned the Fenrir. I was going to ask about them, but because that was part of your. By the way, there was another interview with Chris Landauer over at Savage Universe, so check out that interview as well. I'm going to try to touch on a few other things that weren't touched on, but you did touch on the Fenrir. Someone asked this in the chat. I'm going to kind of go to this real quick. And this might be a joke question, but maybe it's a serious question. I'm not sure. How do they fit all three galaxies inside one Phase World planet? First, can you explain the question in case I don't understand it, and then maybe answer the question?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a joke or not. I mean, obviously, the galaxies are all over. The Phase World is just the planet that allows you to go to all those other planets. Right, it's just a gateway system. So if there's a joke there, I'm sorry I missed it.
All right, okay.
But yeah, no.
Just trying to check another thing. All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's all the lore questions I had. So if someone is, looking at, they never played Rifts, and then they never played Phase World, either Savage Worlds or Palladium, but they like Savage Worlds sci-fi. What in Phase World is going to draw them in to want to try Phase World out?
Wow.
So they like Flash Gordon, they like Last Parsec. What's gonna draw them in for Phase World?
I mean, when you say science fiction, the problem is it's less defined than fantasy. Because fantasy has a huge range, but people typically think elves, dwarves, medieval setting. That's like the bulk of it, and people's imagination starts there. So the thing about Phase World is because it can be so many things. Like if you want to focus on magic but in space, United Worlds of Warlock has those options. Those will be some playable options. Like I want to be a spell casting warlock marine. A space warlock. But I want to have a blaster. You can. If you want to have mecha, that's going to be in there. It's really the part you want to focus on. And of course, what we can put in the first book, there's only so much room. Playing aliens, it's just really, there's no way to define that so much because the setting is so broad. It really comes down to what do you want to play? It's there. So it's the ultimate in what my favorite thing is a sandbox, in the sense that there's so many options, so many different ways to take it. Again, we're not going to do quote unquote the Tomorrow Legion. I have something that's a little more of a and B choice type way to play that will not be like the way you have to play it, but to give the players a way to travel through this, and GM a way to focus on it. That will kind of maybe focus on that, retrieving items type thing or whatever, stopping the whatever things, or maybe helping to make bad things happen. It's an option. It's not everyone's a good guy, but yeah, it's hard to say it's this. If someone were to say um I like traveling from planet to planet exploring, I say it's in there. You know, like, so it's more like that. I could say, tell me what you want, it's probably in there, and I can tell you how it's in there. And again, the books, I'd have to go look at the current books and then extrapolate from there versus what we're writing, but it's going to be very similar in the end as well.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So going off of that, then actually, so you're also you're working closely with Palladium, some people at Palladium to make sure to do this project.
Yeah.
To get
anything we do is 100% part of the canon. If they ever, read, I would say if I should say when someday they go back to Phase World to do it again, then anything we've done will be something that they've accepted into the story and then go forward with as their story. So there's nothing we're making it. They go, oh, we wouldn't have done that. That's not how that works. Not at all. Lots of talks with Kevin.
Yeah. How are you finding the conversion process? Because I mean, from my understanding, the Palladium's system that they used for Phase World is much. I mean, I would say this is true of most systems compared to Savage Worlds. Is they are very different than Savage Worlds. How are you? How is that conversion going? Of converting, the mechanics that are important to the setting into Savage Worlds, and how much are you? Sorry, I was say, how much are you relying also looking at like how Pinnacle did it for Rifts?
Well, the whole point is to make them as nearly compatible as possible, barring licensing issues.
Right.
So we can use iconic frameworks. We're using Mars packages. So the way you build characters is essentially the same for both. So you're not really going to notice the difference. I think we're not doing Heroes Journeys tables. Because most everyone wanted to pick their stuff anyway rather than roll. So we're just going to be like, here's your two choices, make your character, or whatever, it'll be a little quicker for that part. Here's
is that in Savage Rifts? I haven't actually read Savage Rifts.
Yeah, they have these tables you roll on, and most people just wanted to pick anyway. And after talks, that was actually, the tables themselves were not part of the license, but like Major Psionic and so many of the rules that what is the rule of blood and gore? Almost all the major rules that matter between Savage Rifts, Pinnacle was said, yeah, sure, go ahead and use that. That's no problem.
Okay, cool.
So what it really comes down to is it's very simple to play between the two there. And as far as the conversion goes, well, several of the people that worked on, Rifts for Savage Worlds are also working on this. So I really have people who are highly experienced at doing it already. In fact, I've already done the Cosmonite, the Promethean species, the Silhouette species, the Space Warlock, the Warlock Marine. We did a couple already. Obviously, we can't share them. I mean, I can say they're going to be in the book, but I can't share the stats. So everything's been approved. But we already have working stuff for them and already did a pass at that. So, we may tweak it and test it and whatever, but it's not, I say it's not hard because I don't have to do it.
Good. Cool. All right. So we have a lot to look forward to in that regard. I assume so there's going to be new iconic frameworks. Some new Mars packages, some new species. I assume new edges and new hindrances.
Whatever it takes to bring the setting to life. That if it's something in Phase World that we feel you need to have in Savage Phase World for Savage Worlds, probably the right way to say it. It is the right way to say it. Colloquially, that's what everyone says. We're going to put in there whatever you need to get the feeling for the, in the Savage system, what was there. Guns, gear, weapons, vehicles, starships. I mean, there's going to be a limit and a hard limit. The page, I think, don't quote me on this, anyone. This is not a guarantee, but I think I pegged it out at no more than 250 pages.
Yeah, it's a good size book.
That's a good size book, but we could do 350 pages probably, but that's just not going to be feasible to do. Sure. So,
all right. And are you guys planning on including some sort of like adventure generator or anything like that in the book?
It's been something I've been doing with Secret World, Starbreaker, and I think an adventure generator is like one of the best things you can include. So I mean, it just helps people. So and they're not that hard to do. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to do that. Daryl, who does a lot of the writing for me, I'd probably say, Daryl, let's make one for Phase World. He'll be like, okay.
Okay.
But that's typical something we'd like to do at Star Anvil, is to include those.
All right. So looking through the discussion here, there's a few questions I want to ask, but I want to ask this one here. What about mega damage? Is there going to be mega damage compatibility?
Same rule set. Okay. Exactly the same.
Cool. And something about Turbo Jockey.
Oh, yeah. That's the PK. Yeah. PK is the one who wrote it. So, yes, okay. Turbo Jockey's also already written. I just couldn't remember all the ones that were.
Oh, done. Gotcha. Okay, got it. Cool. And Savenko asked, will this Kickstarter have a book printing? So let's go ahead and just dive into talking about the Kickstarter. Yeah. You are doing a offset, that's called offset print run.
Not print on demand. It's going to be an actual, we're going to get everything manufactured and delivered. I like POD as far as it allows us as a smaller company to do things, but this project needs to be, we want the books in the stores. So
very cool. So is it going to be the same like general size of like the comic book size?
This one will be matched to the size of. I won't guarantee perfect. That's the goal. In case we're off by a millimeter or two, but yes, our goal is to manufacture them to match in every which way legally possible. We want to match Pinnacle's layout for this, so it feels like when you're playing one, you don't feel like it's less the other. I mean, our art style is different, but we want to, as far as reading the rules and playing the game, we want it to be the same.
Got it. Cool. So let's talk about what other things that are going to be. You did mention there's going to be stretch goals. One of the stretch goals is going to be hopefully a plot point campaign. Hey everybody, just real quick. Try to say if I say this, I don't want you to like put the stretch goal really far down so that you try to get more people to do it, because I really want to that stretch goal. I like plot point campaigns, so hope to see that. What other kind of stretch goals do you think that you're going to have for this campaign?
I mean, there'll be a couple of species would be on that list and a couple of iconic frameworks. I mean, we have a set number, and then if we hit enough, we'll add a few more of each of those. I mean, I have a list. I'm not going to go over it here yet because but yeah, we have a list of those because those are easy enough to add. The big thing about stretch goals is we don't want to promise so much that it becomes impossible to deliver the product in a reasonable time. It's already going to probably take. I'm going to shoot out for saying we will deliver this like late 2027. It definitely won't be this year, just because it has to be written, it has to be manufactured, shipping, and I'm going to leave some room for like something happens.
Sure.
We won't talk about all the politics in the world, but things that make things take longer can happen. So we want to have that built in.
It could be there could be another COVID, for example.
Yeah, could be anything.
Yeah. Is there plans? Well, I should ask first. Is there any other products you plan on including just in the Kickstarter itself? Any other like accessories or anything?
Well, we're keeping it a bit simpler because it's our first one with this. We want to see how well it does before we promise the world. But we're definitely doing some dice, regular dice set. And then we're also going to do I looked at what they did for one of the Deadlands camp. I think it was Dark Age. They said conviction dice. I said, oh, we're doing that metal dice. We are going to do we're only going to do figure flats for the archetype. Well, I say archetypes, the iconic frameworks archetypes. We're not going to try and do a whole list of monster figure flats because they're more expensive. And until we see how well everything's worked out, I don't want to really make that too much to do. And similar to what we saw them do for the Deadlands stuff, we're just going to have the bennies be cardboard punch outs. It's keeping the cost down a little bit on there. And of course, the archetype cards will be fold out like they are already for, Rifts does. We're going to have them should be the same size. We got it. We're trying to match the template to that so that you could put them in the same box, if you're playing them.
Right.
Obviously our trade dress and layout will be different, but yeah.
Similar enough.
So it's a good amount of product so that, and then we're looking at, provided I get everything back information in time, we're going to do like a limited cover, make a foil cover with some ribbons is the plan. Okay. But we'll see if that absolutely works out or not when I get my numbers back from the printer on that one piece. The rest I had numbers on, but that I did not yet.
Gotcha. Do you plan on doing any sort of VTT support for Phase World?
So VTT is not in the license right now.
Okay.
So right now I can't plan it. I think the important thing is if the book does well enough and the numbers are there, then sure. But VTT is expensive to do, especially for something like, phase roll will be more complicated than some things. So unless the numbers are there, I'm not promising that as part of the Kickstarter. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we're not licensed for it yet, so can't do it anyway.
Sure. Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, it's not good. We don't need to get into licensing stuff. We just didn't know that it's not licensed and you can't do it.
Yep, that's it.
Unless you get permission later. Got it. Okay. So the last thing I want to ask about is, and I think we'll get some other questions that may have come up. Just double check. We kind of went over this, but I'm gonna just ask a little bit differently. Is if people already have Phase World stuff from the 90s or whatever, they've been Phase World fans for a long time, how easy is it going to be for people to kind of take their existing Phase World stuff, whether it be Phase World Adventures, Phase World, other content that, like other settings, like let's say they have a race that you didn't put in the book. How easy is it for them to be to like adapt existing Phase World content to the new Savage Phase World?
Well, I know there's a document out there how to convert stuff over for Rifts that Pinnacle did.
Oh, really?
I think you could apply that because it's very similar. But I would people's ability to convert from one thing to another, that's kind of relative to your skills, desires, how much work you want to put into it. So I would say it's about as easy as it is to do it for Rifts, but I've never had to do it myself.
Sure.
I think the lore and adventures, let's say you pick an adventure some kind of part of the Phase World that you see an idea and you want to use it, because I don't remember there actually being set adventures for Phase World ever. I just remember the Savage Your Favorite Rifts idea. Someone just mentioned that's there. So I think it's more about the lore is applicable minus the changes we're making. So it wouldn't be that hard to pick it up and play.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's go back to some comments here. Let's hear. I'll get to that one later at the end.
Okay.
There are 3 galaxies in Phase World City. Oh, let's do that. Someone said not rolling for character options. Cowards.
I know who said it too. That'd be Saltomancer, is it not?
Yeah, that's Saltomancer.
Yeah. Later.
PK Purple Cat says it's gonna be an 11 by 17 book with 800 to 1200 pages.
That would be the setting. Pretty much all of it.
Kinder Mage said, any chance of bringing Starbreaker species into Rift's Phase World? I'm gonna assume no.
No. They're already trying to separate the IPs. They're not want to combine 2 different companies' IPs. That would be a nightmare. And he knows that. He's just he's smart ass.
Real question. Have any publishers inquired about licensing Rifts or Rift Phase World or collaboration?
I mean, not that I know of, but because of the license, I don't think that would be possible.
And that would be in another way, that question would go towards Palladium, not towards you.
Well, yeah, first of all, Palladium licensed us, and they could license it to someone else if they wanted to for some kind of thing or whatever, I suppose. But I don't see that happening while we're launching new stuff at first. That would be harmful to both of us, so I doubt that would happen. This not right now. 5 years from now, who knows what they'll do?
Right. Cool. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. All right, I'm gonna ask this is gonna be slightly off topic, but still relevant. Someone asked a while ago, Roland Tider, I'm gonna go with that, asked, hey, what's the word on Knights Arcanum? I believe people ask this about Knights Arcanum basically every time that you're on the stream.
Yeah, so. Knights Arcanum it's like Starbreaker was. It took me years to finally get Starbreaker done. Knights Arcanum is actually at least a third written and probably about 25% art done and just sitting there because of, Secret World came up, and then I had to do Starbreaker, and then I had more ideas for Starbreaker. Starbreaker was originally my reason for getting into gaming, right? That's to design stuff. And I got the rights to Secret World, so that delayed Starbreaker. And then along the way, Starbreaker, the artist I had doing Starbreaker passed away. And he's fantastic, but he was not available. So I decided to write something else because I was mad or upset. I didn't want to touch Saints and Sinners Starbreaker anymore. I was done with it. And so I started writing Knights Arcanum. And then I finally got Starbreaker going again. So now it's kind of put that on the back burner. So long story short, I don't know when it's coming out, but I would love to have it come out sometime next year. That's, Phase Worlds, we got Secret World rolling nowadays. We got Phase World. I mean, those two settings are likely what would allow us to make Knights Arcanum and get that going. So we'll see.
Gotcha.
Maybe sooner. But I doubt it.
Yeah. So people are definitely interested and are curious about it. So that's a good sign there. Right.
Yeah, it'll be the breakout hit, and Starbreaker will be like, oh, I like Starbreaker, but they love Knights Arcanum more. That's probably what'll happen.
All right. I think I got all the questions. If I didn't miss anyone, please let me know. Just put a question down in the comments down below. Now I'll come to the end where I ask you, Brandon, what's something you want to talk about with regards to Phase World that I did not ask about?
I think you did a pretty good job going through it. I think
Oh, thank you. If you don't have anything, I do have, I guess, one more question I will ask. Okay. It's more about what the book is going to detail about the world. How much of it is going to how much of the book is going to be dedicated on talking about center and versus like the three galaxies?
I think in order to do Phase World right, especially the first book, we're gonna have to put a good chunk on center, but I don't think it's going to be as extensive. Like, the goal more is to kind of give a sample across everything so you can play the setting, right? The first book kind of sets it up in a very broad way. So center in the original book only has about, just describing center takes up several pages, which it will for us. So I can't imagine it being less than 5 to 6 pages, depending on some things. We're actually doing something that has yet to be done in Phase World, is we're drawing center, an image of that city structure. And we are also going to do a map of center. Now, when I say a map of center, it's not going to show you a room. It's a mile, it's a mile in all directions size structure, more or less. It's actually where there's this little story. It's actually in the book. It's described as a cube, basically a mile cube, right? But after talking to Kevin and stuff, they want more of a pyramid type shape.
Oh, interesting.
So because we're illustrating it, we had to ask. And so, but we are looking at like how many floors does it say it has and all that. So we're gonna do a poster map, so you can at least know where the zones are, like where you're at in center, that kind of thing. So you start to visualize a little bit, and then maybe someday in the future we could do finer details of particular zones. But obviously, building that big, you're not getting a fine detail map is included in this product.
Sure.
So yeah.
So actually, you brought something that I'm going to ask about. So you're doing a lot of your own art, separate from the art that's already out there for Phase World. Why is that? Like, why not just like reuse the art that from the original books?
Well, that would go back to a licensing issue.
Okay.
There's some of that art is owned, or I don't know the details. And
Got it.
For the real thing comes down to is continuity. We want all the art to have a similar style if we can. And the other thing is, when you're doing color anyway, a lot of those drawings were done specifically to be black and white. Coloring them won't work because they were never meant to be colored. So it's hard to get the right lighting and color. And they may not be in the right pose or action for the particular part of the book we want to put them in.
Gotcha.
So we may base something off of, we might look at that piece and go, that's pretty much perfect, but we want to color it. So we're going to redraw it and have it in color. So it'll look similar, but not exact. Cosmo Knights. After talking to Kevin for a while, he had some very specific ideas how he wanted Cosmo Knights to look versus kind of how they look in the books. So they got a little tweak on the view. He wanted a slightly more realistic looking armor because that's how he envisioned them. So we did. And so, I think the way the Cosmo Knight turned out in the art was fantastic, but slightly different than, they were on the art you've seen so far.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, the art from Phase World and Rifts, especially Kevin Long's work, is what inspired me for the types of art I do in Starbreaker. That's where some of the art, what I like about art, came from. So that's where I pick artists to do similar. Obviously, they have their own styles, but those kind of ideas.
Kender Mage asks, will the poster map for Center be sold outside of the Kickstarter? So will that be available?
Will we order some extra ones that can be sold? Sure. Will, the Studio 2s who we're going to partner up with that, so they'd be available to order through there. So, yeah.
And a different question: how likely is it going to be to find Phase World at my FLGS after the Kickstarter? I imagine that's going to depend on how well the Kickstarter does.
It's two parts, right? If we do well enough to order a lot of extra books, we will, within reason. Obviously, we'll say, hey, we sold 1,500 books, we ordered an extra 1,000, whatever. But it'll really depend if your game store wants to carry it. So ask them. Yeah. For example, right now, Starbreaker is Studio 2 did a print run with the audiobook. Okay. You can go to your game store and tell them to order that book. Please, everyone. And then, if they order it, great. That'll get in the stores. Maybe they see they sell it, they'll sell more. It's going to be the same thing with Phase World. You're going to have to ask your game store, say, I heard it's coming and I want it. That's how we'll get there.
The first thing is to find a game store that sells Savage World stuff. And
yeah,
I'm not trying to be like critical, but there's a lot of stores that don't sell Savage World stuff. I've only found one in my area that carried it, and they just carried that and a few Deadlands books, and that was it.
Usually if you say, hey, will you order it, they know they're going to make a sale, and that's how you literally, if you say what's on the shelf, so I'm not going to order it there. If you want your game stores to carry it, you have to say, I would like you to order for me, pay for it. And then, hey, if they make a sale, they'll usually order a second book, because if they sold one, they might sell another.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Good to hear that Savage Worlds is sold in Anchorage, Alaska. Good to know, like, as far as remote as Alaska, we get Savage Worlds sold. That's good. All right. Good to see. I don't see any other questions. I think that's
Come on, peoples, where's your questions before I go?
Yeah, usually I do the stream before Savage Universe, and so I can go say, hey, go ask your questions on the Savage Universe stream. I can't do it this time, so just gonna have to live with your questions forever now. There's no second chance after this, or third chance, I guess. So, but great. Well, I appreciate your time, Brennan, and talking about Savage Phase World. I keep saying Savage Rest, and I apologize. Savage Phase World, different IP. Thanks for coming to talk about that. Looking forward to the Kickstarter. Do let us know when that is releasing. If you want to know when that's releasing, where should they be watching to know when that Kickstarter is happening?
Well, our Facebook page, Blue Sky, or our Discord. Obviously I'll put it on Facebook, and I know that Pinnacle will put in their newsletter on the day we launch. We'll be there, and Palladium will also be helping to support announce it. So we'll do advertising. We're going to be everywhere we can. I mean, we really hope this one blows up big. I mean, I know we won't match the original Savage Rifts launch, right? I mean, that's amazing. But if we can, we want to break 1,000 backers, because that's where the printing costs drop down, so we can do more stuff, and that will encourage us to do another book, everyone.
Yeah. Actually, the best way really to know when that goes live is to go follow the Kickstarter now.
Yeah, so that's really the best way. Follow the Kickstarter, and you'll get the alert right away.
Yeah, links down below in the description. So just take a look at that. And if you want to know more about Palladium, there's a little bit of a side. There is a really cool exhibit in Detroit currently going on about the worlds of Palladium. So Palladium Publishing, all their worlds, Rifts, Phase World. I think there's some other ones that they mentioned there. Palladium Fantasy Role Playing. I guess they did some Robotech at some point.
They did Robotech. They've just did TMNT. I think they got Gene Splicers, Nightbane. I don't know which all will be there, but
yeah. So good if you're going to be in Detroit. Go check it out. I told my wife that when we're out in Toledo, Ohio, to see my family, we're going to do a quick trip up to Detroit so we can go see this exhibit. So hope to see that. But all right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Brandon, and to everyone else. I hope you all have a good night, good week, and stay savage. Hope all your day stays. Just bye.